fans. We are here with another episode of Coffee and Valkyries. I am here with defender Sam Hiatt. Sam, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. It's fun to do one of these in person after years of Zoom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for those listening, if you're gonna hear some background noise because we are here at the famous coffee shop and bakery in Seattle. This is one of my favorite spots. It's also one of Sam's favorite spots.
Yeah, we were pretty excited. I learned about Hood Famous last year, maybe the year before, and ever since then I would say we've been fairly regular customers. I've brought my whole family here. I recently brought my mom's mom, my Lula, here, so it's Lula approved.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of good Filipino goods here, and great drinks too, coffee and otherwise.
Were you a little bit nervous about taking your mom and your Lula here? Because as we all know, mom and Lula seal of approvals do not get handed out like flyers.
I was definitely, I don't know if nervous is the right word, I was just excited for their opinion because I had been here first, obviously, and everything tasted amazing and, authentic and like it was made from home to me, but I knew the real test would be seeing them, and again, they were eating things and they're like, wow, this tastes just like so-and-so, or just like when it's from here, and even, I don't think they'd ever had ube cheesecake before, so it was fun to introduce them to that as well.
That's awesome. So at this point of this young but still very early NWSL season, O'Lorraine second in the table, how do you feel where the team is in terms of like what's working on the field? What are some things that still need to be worked on? But just overall, like, what's your take on the state of the team so far in the season?
I think we're in a good place. I think obviously coming off this most recent game, we have things that we definitely want to improve and work on. But I would say this about this group, that in general, even win or lose, we watch film, we talk about what could have been better, where we want to improve, areas we want to grow in, things we want to keep doing well. So I think that that's something that we're just going to carry with us no matter what the result, I would say. So I think we're in a good place. I think there are definitely things that we want to continue to work on. And I just think that at this point in the season, we're just going game by game, trying to put together the best performance that we can and obviously get results.
When you guys were down in North Carolina after that, I was looking at the schedule, and it just kind of seemed to have lucked out for the team in terms of as grueling as that early schedule has been. But like in terms of you guys going from coast to coast, namely the East Coast, the notorious weather, humidity, all that stuff, you guys are pretty much in the clear at the moment in terms of you guys don't make another East Coast trip until later in June. Then there's a trip in Houston in July. But then outside of that, like your next cross-country trip won't be until, the end of the regular season in Chicago. How does the team feel about that kind of like, hey, is there like a sense of relief that you don't have to do that East Coast trip during like the dog days of summer, like in August and,
Well, especially as someone who was born and raised here in the Pacific Northwest and thus is not a big humidity girl, I definitely, when the season comes out, I note where those games are and what time of year they are. But at the same time, I will say, at least for me personally, I didn't really realize that we were traveling so much more than other teams. I think, and if I had to guess, I would think most of the team as well, we were kind of just, going from game to game. Okay, we're going to Spirit, now we're going to Gotham. Okay, we're coming back, Louisville, North Carolina. And I think while we were going through it, it wasn't necessarily something we thought about. But now, like you said, being on the backside, I think it is nice that we kind of got all that travel out of the way, because ultimately everyone's going to have to do it at some point. And to do it in the beginning of the season, it was tiring while we went through it, for sure. But I think doing it this way is maybe better than doing it the other way around with strings of games in the worst time of the year to be in those places, which I think we kind of did last year. We had that infamous 3-game road trip to North Carolina, Gotham, ending in Houston, which was pretty brutal. So I think, again, in the moment going through it, I wasn't necessarily thinking about it that way, but now that we've been through it, it is kind of nice that we have a lot of the big trips out of the way. I think we still have Orlando. I think that's the June one, maybe. And then obviously, like you said, Chicago at the end of the year. So
cool. So you guys are back in the comforts of home, hosting Gotham on Sunday. But before we talk a little bit about that, I want to go back to the last homestand where, the team had just done the 3 games in a week. But after the last home game, Laura had mentioned about how, when she was asked about how to keep everybody fresh and fit and, rotating the squad, she had mentioned something about you in terms of like how maybe you last season may not have necessarily been like up for like the rotation or just that many matches in a week. But and then she commended you on being able to kind of go through that this a couple weeks ago. I'm just curious, was there anything you changed in your off season when it comes to conditioning, to kind of prepare you for doing 3 matches in a week?
I do think I did a good job this off season. I think part of that is just as you go on each successive season, I think I just know my body a little bit better and know what I need in order to be at my best coming into preseason and carrying that into season, what I need for myself in terms of recovery and how to best be able to be ready to do whatever the team needs, which might be 3 games in a week, might not. So I think the preparation I did in the off season I think helped, and also just generally knowing myself better. I think that helped me while I was preparing and doing conditioning and training in the off season, and also just now to help me get through those tiring weeks.
Was there anything that you did new in terms of your conditioning in the off season, like in terms of like whatever you were doing, like whether it be gym workout, gym routine, or something on the field specific to? Was there anything you incorporated new into that off season conditioning program?
I'm trying to think back to 2 off seasons ago to be able to compare. I think I just really honed in on, I obviously did a lot of running, a lot of training, and I think just whatever combination I had, I think I got it right this year. So I'm going to try and replicate it again next year.
Okay. So as a defender, everybody, pretty much everybody knows who are your colleagues on the whole range backline. You have Lou, OG, you have Alana, you have Sophia, and then recently, like Laura's been saying, after training, after games, calling you out in terms of like what, how much you contribute to the backline amongst, a star-studded backline. What goes through your head, and what are you feeling when you're getting recognized for that amongst a star-studded backline, but also a squad that is filled with so many stars?
I mean, first and foremost, it is an honor and a pleasure every time I get to play with Lou and Alana, and so it's fantastic. And I think I just always try and do my best and contribute what I can. And I think a credit and shout out to them. I've learned so much over the past couple years playing with them. I mean, Lou is basically another coach on the field. We're always talking about things, just trying to work through what other teams are giving us. And she's just a great resource to have. And so I think I've definitely learned so much playing next to them. And I just always want to, again, do my best and do my part to make our team and our defense as difficult to get through as possible.
Okay. So this is a long season because, NWSL seasons are long, but we are coming up close on the first World Cup break. This is a bit more of a fun question because the World Cup break, the first one, is conveniently timed around when you guys will basically be here, but it's also conveniently timed around a certain artist coming to Lumen Field and booking it and having it for the whole weekend, Taylor Swift.
Oh my goodness.
I was just curious if you have tickets or like if the whole team is doing any sort of like group outing to it.
I personally don't have tickets. I can't claim to know if anyone else on the team does or does not. But I will say we do have some Taylor Swift fans. I would say Rose is a pretty big Taylor Swift fan, and I think through my friendship with Rose last year, my listening to Taylor Swift increased dramatically. So I don't know if anyone has tickets, actually. I don't think so. I feel like I would know if someone did. So I'm assuming since I haven't heard about it, I don't think anyone does.
Okay. I'm sure the whole team can get a suite for it as well, because you guys are going to be in town.
I mean, that would be amazing. I didn't even know we were going to be in town during it, to be quite honest. I think in my head, I'm just thinking about Gotham. And I couldn't really really tell you what comes after that.
Got it. So Sunday's match against Gotham, it's been themed as the club's AA NHPI match, to Heritage Celebration match, and because we're obviously in the month of celebrating that for you, you've talked about it many times about what it means to be a Filipino-American playing in the NWSL, but just sports in general. I am curious though, like what goes through your head and heart, or what are you feeling when somebody comes up to you and says, recognize you and appreciate you for being a Filipino-American in sports, especially in this city of Seattle, where there's such a rich history of Asians and Asian Americans, not only just in sports, but just in culture, that are contributed to, why Seattle is such a a deep hotbed for, the culture.
I'm so honored in any time someone comes up to me, and actually a couple weeks ago, I can't remember which home game it was, but a little girl came up to me and her dad was like, she's half Filipino too, and I was so excited. I was like honored. She asked for a selfie and I was like, we can take as many pictures as you want. Like, I'm so flattered. And I just think when I was growing up, I was fortunate to have my mom as someone who I could look up to. So obviously I just wanted to grow up and play soccer like her. And I think it is just a special opportunity to maybe be that figure for someone else. And so I just think it's such an honor to be, like you said, in this city in particular, where there is an Asian population, to be a figure where maybe some young Asian girl can see me playing in Lumen and can dream big for herself and know that that's possible for her too.
Right, nice. With that in mind, and also just you being a consistent starter in the NWSL, has that opened up any sort of conversations or considerations about what you want to do on the international scene as a soccer player, in terms of like possibly representing the Philippines, or is your aim to still put on the U.S. shirt?
Well, honestly, for right now, my focus is to just be the best Reign player that I can be. And I think, especially in the short term where we're going to be losing a lot of internationals during the World Cup break, to just do what I can to keep contributing to this team and ultimately continue my growth and development here at NWSL.
That's a nice, safe answer, because I've gotten some questions from people like, oh, could Sam represent the Philippines? Like, well, yeah, she could if, she wants to do it. There's no obligation, but, it's something that we just had to ask in terms of like, where do you think right now, if you've thought about your international career, where, would you want it to go if it, So yeah, that was mostly just asking from that perspective. Okay, here's a question that one of my colleagues had sent over. So you went to Stanford, along with, the alumni is, pretty famous, Alana, Naomi. Mm-hmm. What is it about Stanford that's identifying and developing such quality center backs?
I have no idea. I think it really is so funny. The center backs that has come out of Stanford for these past couple years have been obviously making us very proud on the international and in the level and in the NWSL. And I've loved playing with them at Stanford. I love playing with Lonnie now, and playing against Naomi and Tierna is always a challenge. But I guess I don't know what Paul's doing or what Stanford's doing down there, but something's going well for the center backs.
Right. Going through my list of questions here. Here's a fun one that we've been kind of curious about. What are your thoughts on your nickname, the Shredder, or Shreddy, as the teammates have called you?
I have fully accepted the Shredder. There's someone who sits in the front part of Lumen who has a sign that says something like, "You're not ready for Shreddy," and I think they cheer. I can hear them from the field. I can hear them saying, "Yeah, Shredder," sometimes during the game, which is awesome. But yeah, I fully accepted it. Not that I ever didn't really, but I guess the team has really accepted it. And a nickname has really made it when there are now nicknames and derivatives of the nickname. So I go by Shreddy, Shred, Shredder, Shredster. One particular person who sometimes says Shredmaster 3000, but that's like a personal choice. But yeah, I'm a big fan of it now. Honestly, it's especially when there were two Sams as well. It was nice to make a distinction. So Shreddy, Shred, Shredster, Shredder, all of the above. I answered to.
That's awesome. Did you ever wonder where that nickname came from?
Well, I knew it was from. You guys tweeted it.
Yeah.
Way back when, because I remember my family. Someone sent me a screenshot of the original brainstorm tweet that had like a bunch, and I do think people on the team for a while were saying a few of the other ones. I can't remember what. I think Whomping Willow was a fan favorite of the Harry Potter fans for a bit, but the Shredder clearly was the one that stuck. So
yeah, which is kind of interesting for me because when I suggested it in terms of that brainstorming tweet, I was like, I don't feel like it's like my best creative effort, but I mean, hey, if the team has taken to it and it's part of it's your nickname now, it's like, who am I to argue?
I mean, thank goodness that it made the cut for the tweet, because then I wouldn't be Shredder. I don't know what happened.
Got it. So this is kind of a random question that I thought about earlier in terms of like whenever I see you out on the field, you always seem to have like wrist tape around your left wrist. Is that just aesthetic, or is there a story to it? Because when I was looking at photos of you from Stanford, you didn't seem to have it.
It is taping. It's taping my whoop in place.
Your what?
Like this is called a whoop.
Oh, okay.
And it just tracks different things. And
okay.
It. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. That's fine. Because it was just sometimes whenever we see like athletes, putting them on, it could be something for functional in terms of like they might have had a hand or wrist injury. Because I think that's the case with Kareem Benzema. He always has it on. Yeah. But other times it's just simple aesthetics. But
yeah, this is for functionality, I would say, not aesthetics or anything like that. But yeah, I didn't have this in college, which is why my Stanford pictures are lacking the tape.
Got it. So, in terms of Sunday's match with Gotham, you'd already met them earlier in the season, came away with that with a victory. What are you looking towards in that match, and like how's the team preparing for it? And what do you think are going to be the keys for the team to get back on the winning side?
Yeah, I think they're a really good team. I think they've been doing well. They obviously have some great attackers that we will need to be aware of as a back line, and think about what we can do structurally and with our shape to kind of nullify their threats. But at the same time, I think a lot of our focus for us is to what we can do as a team, and again, what we can do better coming off of last weekend, because I really do think that when we play well and perform the way that we know we can perform, and there have been flashes of it this season, I think will be difficult for any team to handle. So I think while we're definitely conscious of what they're going to bring and what, again, as a defender, I'm thinking of their attack and what that's going to mean for me in particular in my job on Sunday. I think at the same time, a lot of our focus is going to be on what we want to highlight for ourselves and what we want to improve in these next couple of days of training to really just improve us overall, because again, I think when we're playing well, when we're firing on all cylinders, I think it's tough for anyone to handle that.
All right. Well, Sam, that pretty much is the end of my list of questions for this. So the floor is yours for any last words you'd like to say to OL Reign fans, say hi to friends and family, whatever you want to say.
Hello, OL Reign fans. We hope to see you guys out there on Sunday. We're happy to be back home and coming to you live, or I guess it won't be live, from Hood Famous. So if you haven't been here yet, they've got great coffee, great drinks, and lots of yummy Filipino food too.
What would be your go-to recommendations for someone that's not been here before?
I think the ube latte here is great. Also the ube cheesecake, and then sometimes just the little like different pastries they have. It kind of rotates the cookies and the buko pie for, again, any Filipinos out there who might be listening is really good. So honestly, like I said, everything I've had here, I've been very impressed by. So.
Awesome. Well, Sam, thank you very much for taking the time to come down here and do Coffee and Valkyries with us, and all the best to the team on Sunday.
Thank you so much for having me.